of the Vīmaṁsaka Sutta. This Sutta M47, Majjhima Nikaya, middle length Sutta number 47. SD 35.6, volume 35, Sutta 6. No? Now, just make a note. See, on the last page, you will see at the very last line, the whole file, a series of numbers. Right? So those are the dates. Okay. So I started translating on the 2010, December 6, 2010. Okay. So that would tell you whether your sutta is up to date or not. You can get, because I keep on correcting, adding things as we discover new materials. Right? So in that sense, we call it a living translation. So it's not a book in that sense. It's one monk called it study notes. Yeah, so that we update the teachings so that they are clear. So, but these are explanations of the suttas. They are modern commentaries. They're very useful when you want to understand what those suttas are about. The Vīmaṁsaka Sutta is not difficult. It's quite straightforward. The title means the Discourse on the Investigator, M47. So make sure you either remember the number M47 or the sutta name, Vīmaṁsaka Sutta. And of course, if you want us to locate the sutta for you and get you the latest version, you tell us the SD number, 35.6, that we can locate very easily for you. You can also locate this on our website, which is at the bottom of every page, http://dhammafera.org. So the suttas are there. This website is done kind of, by volunteers, so it's not as sophisticated as some of those more modern and expensive-looking websites. The easy way is always look at the right-hand side. There's a list of names on the website, yeah, the Dhammafera website. So look for what you want from there and go on clicking until you find what you want. If you can't find it, then contact Ratna or contact me. And Telegram is there, very easy for you to use Telegram, yeah? Or Facebook. Right, so you look at the title on top right-hand side. That gives you the number, the title, the translation to the title, and the theme. The theme here on the third line says, even the Buddha should be investigated. Right, so here is an amazing teaching. You don't see this, you almost don't see this in any other religion, where the teacher himself tells you, you have to investigate even the teacher. Even you got to investigate me. Okay, check, see, am I practicing what I teach, basically. All right, so this is what the sutta is about. Of course, you may say, but the Buddha has already passed away. How do we know? But the point remains that the Buddha, even while he lived, he tells the monks, you can check me. You can check me out. You can watch me, see my example, in other words. So what the Buddha is doing here is telling us today to examine our teachers, basically. Examine our own teachers, and in the end, also examine ourselves. So we'll go step by step and see what can we learn from the sutta. Okay, let's look at the translation now, page 192. Vimamsaka Sutta, the discourse on the investigator. M47. Thus have I heard, at one time, the Blessed One was residing in Anathapindika's park in Jeta's Grove near Savatthi. The Buddha spent, I think, the last 25 years of his life in this place, yeah. And Ananda was there taking care of him. So this Ewang Me Sutang Das have I heard is spoken by Ananda to remind us that he memorized his teachings given by the Buddha and recited it to the assembled 500 arahats. Then they made this a tradition of reciting sutta, so it's handed down from generation to generation. So you have a group of monks memorizing all the Majjhima Suttas. They are called the Majjhima reciters. You got another group of monks who recite the long discourses. So they spend their time reciting, memorizing. That's how the teaching is preserved for the first few hundred years at least. 1.2, verse 1.2. At one time, the Blessed One was residing in Anathapindika's monastery park in Jeta's Grove near Savatthi. Notice I translate Vihara as here Anathapindika's arame as monastery park, because the word arama originally translates simply as park. Of course, we say the word park, but it doesn't have that wonderful meaning to it as arama. Arama means a place where you feel joyful, right? We had our senior yoga at the park a few days ago. So when we reached there, right, one of you say, oh, this is a very lovely place, right? So this lovely place is arama. And that's where the monks live, among the trees. So you don't really see their buildings. They're all little kutis, little huts, you know. And these little huts are among the trees. So that's the arama. So it's a monastery as well as a park. So that's why I use the word monastery park. And this monastery park is built by Anathapindika. He bought this piece of land from Prince Jeta's grove. So the grove is a bit bigger. You got a squirrel feeding ground and so on. And this is outside Savatthi in northern India. Then the Blessed One addressed the monks. Bhikshus, Bhante, the monks replied to the Blessed One. The Blessed One said this. So all this you have to imagine, okay? Picture the monks are assembled. We don't know how many, quite a big number. So the Buddha sits in front of them and then just address them. Bhikshus. So that means the teaching is coming, and the monks will say Bhante, showing that they are ready. All right, now the Buddha makes the key statement, the thesis, if you like, section 2. The Tathagata Bhikshu should be examined by a monk, an investigator, one who is inquisitive, one who does not know how to read another's mind, so that he knows whether the Blessed One is fully self-awakened or not. Notice the words are very carefully put together. First, the Buddha addresses himself as Tathagata, the one who has come. Sometimes the Buddha does use the word I, me, ahang, but more often the Buddha will use Tathagata, because it's not referring to himself as a person, it's referring to this teacher who is giving the Dhamma. And the word bhikshus here, you wish to translate as monks, it means anyone who's listening. The monks are there, the bhikshus are there, so that the occasion for the Buddha teaching, then the suttas are preserved and handed down so that we today can hear it. So that's the purpose. So even though the Buddha says bhikshus, the Buddha is addressing us, and we can hear the sutta 2,500 years later, just as it is, so to speak, in English, of course, right? So then the Buddha says, it should be examined. Okay, notice, so you can translate the word Vimamsaka as examiner also, if you like. It should be examined by a monk, by any of us, by an investigator who is inquisitive, who wants to know things. Is the Buddha really good? Is the Buddha really calm? You can question that. Yeah? You must not say, oh, this person is a monk, therefore we cannot question him. You hear that, people talk like that nowadays. Oh, you know, he's holy, you must respect him because he's a monk. Now, this is a very, very bad way of thinking. You might encourage bad behavior among the monks. So don't talk like that, and don't accept talks like that also. So here, the Buddha says this investigator is one who does not know how to read another's mind, right? So you don't have to read the mind, even though most of us would not know how to read minds, all right? So even though you may not have the power of mind reading, you can still ask this question. But there's something else. You don't only ask a question, but you observe. You observe in two ways. We'll find what are the two ways in just a while, right? So the idea here is you examine the Buddha so that you know whether the Buddha is fully self-awakened or not. So in our case, of course, we examine the suttas, all the stories and the teachings, and we see, are these stories, is this narrative, are these wordings all reliable? Are they meaningful? Can we really follow them? Because there are lots of stories, and people are writing all kinds of things about the Buddha. And if you go on the internet, you find some people are very irresponsible. They just simply say, write something and then put the Buddha. So you have lots of fake Buddha sayings. They don't realize it is bad karma. I'm misquoting the Buddha. We should not do that, okay? All right, so here, the Buddha asked the monks, say, okay, you should do this, all right? But the monks, these are probably young monks, they are not sure, so they invite the Buddha to teach them. So this third verse is quite humorous, actually. The monks are pleading ignorance. Verse 3. Bhante, our teachings are rooted in the Blessed One, guided by the Blessed One, has the Blessed One as refuge. It would be good indeed if the Blessed One were to explain its meaning. Having heard the Blessed One, the monks would remember it. Okay, so this is called a stock passage. You often hear this, right? So basically, the monks are also saying we are ready to hear the teaching. Then listen, bhikshus, pay close attention to it. I will speak. Yes, Bhante, the monks replied to the Blessed One in assent. The Blessed One said this. Okay, the Blessed One said this. That's the cue. The teaching starts. Section 4 onwards. Then you can see the round brackets I've added for you. That's to help you have it. These are anchor numbers, so you know these are the points. Okay, there are, I think, 5 points, 6 points of investigation. So the first one is this. The Buddha says, the Tathagata bhikshus should be examined in 2 ways regarding 2 states. By a monk who is an investigator or who is inquisitive, one who does not know how to read another's mind, that is, states cognizable by the eye and by the ear. So in other words, what you see, what you hear about the Buddha. Thus, okay, this is the first thing we examine. Are defiled states cognizable by the eye or by the ear found in the Tathagata or not? Can we see any behavior? Can we see actions by this teacher that show that he doesn't keep the precepts, that he doesn't practice what he teaches, that he is not a good person, basically, what we can see? Or by the ear, right? By the way he talks, right? So, and you can feel, is he peaceful or not, right? So by seeing and by listening, found in the Tathagata or not found. When investigating this, he comes to know thus, defiled states cognizable by the eye or by the ear are not found in the Tathagata. So he says, okay, I don't see any of this. I can't find any fault, whether by looking at him or listening to him. I don't see any defiled, any impure states. That's number 1. Okay. Then 5 is number 2, second way. From investigating him, he knows that defiled states cognizable by the eye or ear are not found in the Tathagata. He investigates him further. So now the next step, next question. There mixed states, good and bad combined, or uncertain behavior, cognizable by the eye or by the ear, found in the Tathagata or not. While investigating him, thus he knows that mixed states cognizable by the eye or by the ear are not found in the Tathagata, right? So mixed states, right? Good and bad mixed up. Or we're not sure, is this is this good, is this bad? Because some people's behavior can be rather strange and eccentric. We're uncertain of it, right? And then, so that's the second one. Now we go to the third question of investigation, which is in section 6. From investigating him, he knows thus mixed states cognizable by the eye or by the ear are not found in the Tathagata. He investigates him further. So this is the next question, number 3. Are there purified or cleansed states cognizable by the eye or by the ear found in the Tathagata or not? Right, so here, does he behave in a purified way, morally good? Right? Or do we hear him talking in a calm, peaceful, friendly way, and he talks sensible things, wise things, and so on? So while investigating him, thus he knows that purified states cognizable by the eye or by the ear are found in the Tathagata. Okay, so that's the third one, right? So notice again, first question is about impure states. Second question about mixed states. Third question about pure states. So they're all nicely connected. Now question 4, which is in section 7. From investigating him, he knows thus purified states cognizable by the eye or by the ear are found in the Tathagata, purified states. Now he investigates him further. Next question. Has this Venerable One attained to this wholesome state for a long time, or has he attained it for a short while, temporarily? So the next question is, okay, this good state he shows, is it something regular, permanent, already there by his nature for a long time, or is it just for the moment, to show to the public, very nice, it's a kind of put-up behavior, not real, just a veneer. 7.3. While investigating thus, he knows that this Venerable One has attained to the wholesome state for a long time. This Venerable One has not attained it for a short while. So this shows that his behavior is natural, has been that, I've been like that for a long time, right? So this is number 4. So number 5, section 8, from investigating him, he knows this. This Venerable One has attained to this wholesome state for a long time. This Venerable One has not attained it for a short while. He investigates him further. So this is question 5. Has this Venerable One attained renown, become famous, well-known, respected, among who has won fame, so that certain disadvantages are found in him here? Wow, this question, it really applies today, right? You see lots of celebrity monks, famous monks. Okay, so now this person investigates the Buddha. This person, has he become famous? And when people become famous, there are always certain problems, certain things. They'll be different. 8.3. Bhikshus, certain disadvantages are not found in a monk as long as he has not attained to renown, not won fame. But bhikshus, when a monk has attained to renown, won fame, there are found certain disadvantages in him. Now, there is a teaching here. One of the teachings where the Buddha, in the Samyutta, the Buddha wants the monks, say, monks, be careful of gains and praises and all these things you get. They will get you into trouble, right? Fame, titles, things that you get. So monks who become famous, who become well-known, become rich, they will fail. Usually they will fail. Yeah? At least they have some kind of problems. The wrong kind of people will come to them, and so on. 8.4. While investigating him thus, he knows thus. This venerable one has attained renown among who has won fame, but no disadvantages are found in him. So although he's well known, he has people respect him, people support him, he's still a good monk. Right? You don't see any negative things in him. All right, that's good. So this part is repeated in the next section 9, like the previous one, section 9. Bracket 6, this sixth and last quality here. From investigating him, he knows thus. This venerable one has attained renown, the monk who has won fame, but no disadvantages are found in him. Right? So he's still a good monk, although he's famous and well known, and he's got many followers, and people are supporting him, right? So he's still a good monk. Doesn't bother about all this fame and things that he gets. And he investigates him further. In this venerable one, this is a question. Is this venerable one restrained? Not on account of fear. Or is he restrained on account of fear, right? In some religion, there is fear, right? You don't practice this, you go to hell. Or you don't practice this, people will laugh at you, then you won't get donations. If you don't practice this, then your teacher might punish you, right? So there's fear, right? So is he restrained? Is he good? Does he keep the precepts out of fear? Next question, does he abstain sense pleasures, from sense pleasures on account of being lust-free through having destroyed it, right? So here, in other words, he keeps away from, behaving like layman, enjoying sexual pleasures, because he doesn't have that feeling anymore. He has overcome it. Why? He has destroyed it through meditation, through precepts, through meditation. In other words, it's not just pretending. It's not just, only behaving he's good in front of people, but privately, secretly, it's breaking the precepts. We know a lot of monks today do that. Right? They only show a veneer, like tattoof, as we call them, the tattoof, and they pretend to put up a show that they seem to be good people, right? In fact, in most religions, this idea of putting up a show, a charade, a veneer is very common, right? So 9.3, while investigating him thus, he knows that this venerable one is restrained not on account of fear, not from fear. This venerable one is not restrained on account of fear, right? So it's not because of fear he's keeping the precepts, that he's good, he's noble. He abstains from sense pleasures, he doesn't do bad things, on account of being lust-free through having destroyed it, right? So he has really overcome these negative states. So this is what we see, what we examine, all right? This is in section 9.2 of the sutta. You can see the section 9.2 on the screen, right? Here, the examiner or the investigator asks, does he, in this case, the Buddha or the teacher we're investigating, does he not indulge in sense pleasures on account of being lust-free by having destroyed it? When he investigates him thus, he knows thus. The Venerable One is neither restrained for fear, nor is the Venerable One restrained by fear. Notice, for fear and by fear. He indulges not in sexual pleasures on account of being lust-free by having destroyed it. Okay, so this is what we're going to find out. Yeah? So just give me a minute to. All right, so here, look at this phrase, neither restrain for fear, because of fear, in other words. Here means that the arahats, like the Buddha, they are not morally virtuous. They're not keeping the precepts simply because of fear of punishment, right? Because sometimes we say, oh, don't do this, or it's bad karma, or you go to hell. There's sort of fear of punishment by some kind of external agency, or God will punish you and so on, that kind of threat. Or simply even afraid of karma, right? Sometimes we are afraid of karma, so we act, which is not bad in itself, but there is a better way. So here, in other words, in the case of the arhats, especially, their body and speech are pure, or their karma is pure. It's not a ritual practice. It's not merely to show others they appear to be good, but it is because, or one more point, they do not see this good karma as a goal in itself. All right, it's not even say, oh, it's good to be good, that kind of talk. So why do they do this? Because there is a higher purpose, okay? Especially for people like us, to teach us that the higher purpose of moral virtue is mental cultivation. So this moral virtue in the Buddha and the Arahats is the basis of their pure mind, in their case. But in our case, we cultivate loving kindness to clear our bodily actions, to purify our minds as the basis for mental cultivation. From sila, there is samadhi, in other words, right? Then in the second phrase, no restraint by fear, means that the arhats are morally restrained not merely by the rule of law, not merely because of the Vinaya. They also understand again the higher purpose of the rules of the Vinaya. And not only that, in this case, because of their wonderful nature, their wisdom and compassion, the arahats, including the Buddha, are fully and naturally restrained by the spirit of the Vinaya. In other words, they don't, it's not just the word of the rule, but the spirit of it. In other words, they are happy practicing it out of compassion for others in the true spirit of renunciation. They understand the nature of letting go, of non-attachment. And also, we see this as, for ourselves, as the goal of the path of our practice, that is to attain awakening, or at least to reach the path as Trimuna. So we keep the precepts, not because of fear, but because we are motivated by this higher purpose to gain awakening, and also for the love of the Dhamma, because if you're happy, as this Dhamma is so beautiful, it brings happiness to us, it brings happiness to others. In that sense, we are following the way of the arahats, so that we distance ourselves from defilements. We cut down bit by bit, we cut down defilements, and we purify our mind bit by bit in that way. So that's the meaning of these two phrases. So now let's look at this once again, just to be sure. We can't examine the Buddha now, right? But we can examine other teachers by watching them. Remember, we could be wrong, so this is not a one-time thing, right? So the Buddha is giving us this teaching as an ongoing kind of protection, right, before we go closer to the teacher, right, to listen to the Dhamma. Otherwise, we'll be listening to the wrong Dhamma, right? So once again, there are 6 questions we should ask. First question is this teacher defiled, impure, right? Practicing wrong things, teaching wrong things, doing wrong things, right? First one, are there impure states? in this person? Are there wrong things going on? What we can see, what we can hear. In other words, teaching wrong things also. Now, there's a bit of a problem here, see, because most of us don't listen to the sutta. And then the scholars are also telling us, say, oh, you know, in the Buddhist time, most Buddhists don't listen to the suttas anyway. They only come once a fortnight to practice. That's not true, because they practice on their own, even though they may not come to the temple. And in our own time, the teaching is such that we can practice on our own even more so, and we need to do that. So here we have to examine this teacher who has come to town, or this teacher we're going to visit. You look at him, how does he behave? Is he really calm? Or is he dressed like some businessman? Or is he looks, I don't know, like he wants to look like a layman, doesn't cut his hair and so on, right? So then you know, okay, these are signs, something's wrong. And then you hear the way he talks, right? Is it fast, excited? He gets angry words, use angry words, and so on. So you notice all this, okay, this is not good. So to what you see, what you hear. Then number 2 is, okay, if he doesn't have those states, very good. Then number 2 is mixed states. In other words, sometimes he seems okay, sometimes not, and quite uncertain, right? You get uncertain states also. So are there uncertain states, mixed states? Then 3, notice, okay, you notice there are good states, right? He behaves well, and you can see, you can hear it. Then number 4, you got to examine, does he behave like this naturally all the time? Every time you come and you hear from people, you ask people. So by ear, you can ask people also. In fact, in one of those guidebooks I read somewhere about meditation retreat centers, in order to find out how good is a teacher, one way is to go around just casually asking practitioners, what do you think of this teacher? And you find the different views. Of course, you don't simply come to, immediate blind conclusion that whatever the people say, how it should be taken on the face value. You listen carefully and how they say, what are they saying, and then you find out for yourself, right? So people will say, oh, you know, this is a good teacher, and then what does he mean good? I mean, they can say it's good because they like him in some things, but other things it's not good. Or someone can say, oh, I don't like this teacher. You know? Then again, what does he mean by don't like? Maybe he makes people meditate longer, and things like that. So you can have some idea by asking, but you must know what to do with the answers. In other words, investigate further. Then question 4 is, question 5 rather now, is if he's well known and famous and he's well supported, all that, how does he react to all this, right? So here we find, the monastic situation is changing so fast nowadays. People get so excited when they hear there are forest monks. So they will support the forest monk, they will give money, they'll give land and so on. I was reflecting the other day, I said, wow, nowadays, when you look at the Sangha situation, you can talk of two broad categories of monks. One would be the money monk. This money monk is simply any kind of monk who use money, who build centers and who do all kinds of things, very heavily funded, to do a lot with money, right? So this is the so-called modern monk. They can be forest monks too. In other words, this money has changed them. They're monetized, if you like. They become urbanized and so on. So this is one group, right? And then you have the old traditional group who still try to preserve the rules, keep to the Vinaya. They will not accept money. The Piya, the lay committee will take care of the money. and do all the building for them and so on. So this is the old school, still there. It is still there. But sometimes they are in difficulties, so they have to decide. They find among them certain monks might not keep to the rules. So some of them are brave enough that they have to throw out or excommunicate those kind of monks who don't keep to the spirit of the Vinaya. Now the good thing about the monks is they do all this in a peaceful way. They try not to make it too difficult for the lay people, but they do what needs to be done, right? So as a lay person, if you don't know the Vinaya, you don't know how the monks do, you don't really know what's going on. All right, so you just hear the stories of the monks that you have faith in, and that's the way it is. All right, so Buddhism, this is a strength as a weakness of Buddhism. We don't like trouble. You want to change things, okay, change peacefully. So only the wise who observe, they will know, and then they will decide what to do, where to go, whether to continue going to this monk or not. So these are things we have to find out for ourselves, right? And it's not easy, right? So in the Sutta discovery, I try to explain all this in some detail for the thinking person, for the intelligent person to analyze and decide for yourselves. So this number 5 is where this person becomes famous and well-known and wealthy, and they get themselves into a lot of trouble, into a lot of difficulties. They lose their monkness, if you like. Yeah? Well, that's the whole thing. We don't know what monkness is. Monkness means you have spent at least 5 years, the first 5 years of your ordination in a monastery, behaving like a monk, learning the ropes, we say. But those 5 years are very important. They make you really a monk, to behave and live like a monk, letting go of your previous life, your lifestyle as a lay person, household habits, if you like. So, but here you find even some forest monk in a new environment, they can forget their old training, and you're getting lots of money, millions of dollars that can really change people. So you find a lot of monks today, they write books, they do translations, they take tons of money, millions of dollars, they become millionaires overnight, they can even start their own foundation. So you have two new categories of monks, the urbanized, modernized money monk, and then you have still the forest monks, very quiet, you don't hear much about them. There are books published for them, but you don't see them doing big money-based stuff. Right? So this is the 2 big categories of monks today. And we have to choose wisely. And then the 6th category is to observe, see, this monk is restrained. Why is he restrained? Why does he behave well? Is it because of fear, out of fear? Or is it because his nature is that he's free of lust, he has given up all these negative states, so he's naturally behaving like that? And that's important. Otherwise, it's just pretending, right? Especially if you are a university-trained monk, right? Oh yeah, this is another 2 categories of monk. You have the university-trained monk, and then you have the forest monks, right? So a university-trained monk is likely to say, oh, everything is all right, times have changed, we don't have to follow the Vinaya seriously. The Vinaya is, conventional rules, so you can change them. Who says so? See, only he says so, but not the Buddha. See? So then you have the forest-trained monk or forest monks, Vinaya-trained monk. They keep to the rules. Right? So then when they keep to the rules, they practice, they are well restrained. They don't just pretend to be civil, right? Good in our eyes. But we don't know how to judge them because we don't know the Vinaya. We know a bit of Dhamma, but almost nothing about Vinaya. So this is what the 6th category is telling us. When you watch all these monks, do you really know, are they really good? Are they actually behaving naturally or just pretending to cheat you, to bluff you? Right? So these are the 6 categories. Okay, now I think it's the short passage. We can just go on a bit more, then we take a break. Section 10. And if bhikkhus, another monk were to ask thus, but what are the Venerable One's reasons? What are the evidence that he spoke thus? This Venerable One is restrained not on account of fear. This Venerable One is not restrained on account this. Okay, just take it as this Venerable One is not. It's not because out of fear that he behaves that way. He abstains from sense pleasures on account of being lust-free through having destroyed it. So he has overcome the unwholesome roots. That's why he is keeping the precepts. That's why he's behaving good. 10.2. Bhikkhus, the monk answers rightly, should answer thus. So the correct answer is this. Now, whether this Venerable One is dwelling as a community or dwelling alone. Okay, notice here, he can be living as a, what do you call it, a monk living in a big monastery, or he can be like a Dutanga monk living in the forest by himself on retreat. Two kinds of monks. No? While some of them are well-behaved, some are ill-behaved therein. Right? So just because they live alone doesn't mean they behave properly. They could be misbehaved too. Right? So you've got to see, are they well-behaved or not? Or some there teach a group where some here are engaged in worldly things. Some are tainted, and some are untainted by worldly things. Right. So some of them are teachers with groups with big followers, big following. Okay. So, but they have a lot of things that they don't practice and they are not pure, right? So you find whether, in other words, here in summary again, whether they live in a community, in a big monastery, or they live alone as wandering monks in the forest, or they are famous teachers. You have two kinds. You have the bad ones, you have the good ones. So you have to watch this. So this Venerable One does not despise any of them on any account. So this monk, he does not talk bad about other monks. Here, talk bad is a tricky word, does not despise. Notice the word is despise. Look down, talk in a negative way. In fact, you'll find that if you ask a monk, what do you think of another monk? This monk is highly unlikely to say much. He'll probably be a little embarrassed. He will not say much. He'll tell you, oh, find out for yourself, something like that. But if you know certain monks very well, they may tell you a bit more because they know you well enough. So they may tell you some things and you have to listen carefully and then decide for yourself what to do. Okay, that's the meaning here. 10.3, for I have heard this from the Blessed One himself. I have learned this from the Blessed One himself, from his own lips. Thus, I am restrained not on account of fear. This Venerable One is not restrained on account of fear. I abstain from sensual pleasures on account of being lust-free through having destroyed it. So here, in other words, you hear the monk himself, the Buddha himself telling you this, telling you the truth, understanding that he has told you the truth, that he has been meditating and so on. Here again, remember, you are told all this. You still have to investigate it further. No? But this is the path to go, that the monks say that he has been following the training, he is keeping to the rules. All right, so this is up to section 10. Now we will look at the last half, just about 2 pages more. Then we'll finish the study. We can go with question time. So now we'll take a break. 5 minutes break.
Okay, thank you, Brother Piya. I think we can start.
All right, let's continue. Now we go to section 11. Okay, this section 11 to 13, the Buddha confirms the investigation. 11. Because the Tathagata should indeed be further questioned about that thus. Are there defiled states cognizable through the eye or through the ear to be found in the Tathagata or not? The Tathagata bhikshus answering rightly would answer thus. No defiled states, whatever cognizable through the eye or through the ear are found in the Tathagata. So here you find the Buddha himself will say that, right? This is assuming the precepts are valued and kept, okay? Then 12, are there mixed states cognizable to the eye or to the ear to be found in the Tathagata? So the Buddha is asked, or the teacher is asked, and the Tathagata or the teacher answering rightly would answer thus. No mixed state, whatever cognizable to the eye or to the ear are found in the Tathagata. 3 or 13 brackets 3. Are there purified or cleansed states cognizable to the eye or to the ear to be found in the Tathagata? The Tathagata bhikshus answering rightly would answer thus. Purified states cognizable through the eye or through the ear are found in the Tathagata. And then he adds, the Buddha adds something else. Okay, this is the sort of like highlight. This path, this pasture, here means the practice, pasture, am I. But I'm not part of it. I do not identify with them. Now, this is a very interesting statement. The Buddha is saying, okay, I have attained this state, but I do not identify with it, I don't own it. It is not because of the I-ness. Okay? This is the natural state of things, in other words. So I do not identify with them. No, the attamayata is the practice here. Not, there's no like magical thing, or I am that kind of saying like in the Brahmanical teachings. This is a natural development of the practice. Now we are coming to the closing section now. So the next part is wise faith in the teacher, section 14. Bhikshus should, a disciple should approach the teacher who speaks thus for the sake of hearing the Dhamma. The teacher teaches him the Dhamma, ever higher, ever more sublime, with its dark and light counterparts. All right. So here, now that we have found this teacher is reliable, this teacher is good, trustworthy, then we listen to him. And he teaches us the Dhamma in such a way that, okay, we first learn to keep the precepts. And then after learning to keep the precepts, we learn to use the peacefulness of body and speech to calm the mind. And when we learn to calm the mind, we deepen the calmness of the mind to cultivate wisdom. And we go on in due course, come closer to attaining stream winning, attain stream winning, and then go higher and higher like that. So in other words, it is not just a routine thing every Sunday going to listen to someone talk something, and you find every week some different talk, and there's no connection and we don't change, right? So for this reason, we have classes, retreats, so that we go through a sustained way of practice, understand more and more, and with our practice, we improve ourselves through the stages of development. So this idea of growing is very important in Buddhism. In other words, we don't stay static on one level, dead, you know. We are living practitioners. So we grow like the Bodhi tree. In other words, we grow and change, we awaken into nirvana. 14.2, Bhikshus, as the teacher through direct knowledge thus teaches to the monk the Dhamma, ever higher, ever subtler, with its dark and bright counterparts of a certain teaching here in the Dhamma, The monk is convinced of the teaching. All right, convinced of the teaching. So he has faith in the teaching, right? Okay, one more point I didn't explain is the dark and bright counterparts. So this basically the bad karma side, good karma side. Things you should not do, things you should do. Things you should not do, things which are bad, negative, doesn't promote to growth, spiritual growth, are called dark. Bright are those that promote growth, that help you to grow your moral virtue, your mind training, your wisdom. Okay. So when we listen to this teaching, when you listen to this kind of teaching, you become full of faith. Right? So the last sentence says, he is radiant with faith in the teacher thus. Radiant with faith. Pasati, pasadara, pasana. Pasana is the adjective. Radiant with faith in the teacher thus. Sama sambuddho bhagava swakato bhagavata dhammo supatipano sangho. In the closing salutation, basically this is, we bow down to the three jewels. And these are the three jewels. Okay, the first one is the Buddha, Arahang. We say Arahang Sama Sambuddho Bhagava, right? The Blessed One is fully self-awakened. So we accept that as a fact. Only one Buddha, he is fully awakened. And that's good enough for us, our teacher. Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo, well taught. Su-akato, okay, well taught is the Blessed One's teaching. The Dhamma is still present with us, not tainted, not changed, and twisted around, not watered down. Okay, the direct teaching. Supatipano Sangho, or you can add the word Bhagavato if you like. Supatipano Bhagavato Savaka Sangho. Okay, here is the short version. Supatipano Sangho. The holy community keeps to the good way. Supatipano can also translate as one whose practice is good, is right. Su can be good, right, okay. Sangho is the holy community of monks. If bhikshus, others were to ask that monk thus, but what are the Venerable One's reasons, or what are his evidence that the Venerable One speaks thus? The Blessed One is fully self-awakened, well-taught is the Blessed One's teaching, and the Sangha is practicing the right way, right? So how do you know this is true, right? That monk, bhikshus answering rightly, would answer thus. Here also I went up to the Blessed One to hear the Dhamma. And the Blessed One taught me the Dhamma ever higher, ever more sublime, with its dark and bright counterparts. So he says, well, I know the Buddha is the true teacher, fully self-awakened, because I have gone there and listened to him myself, followed the teaching. As the teacher, he teaches the Dhamma in this way, ever higher, ever subtler, even subtler, with its dark and bright counterparts. I, through direct knowledge, found fulfillment with the Dhamma. Now, in this case, I think this layperson has attained some level. Maybe it's stream winning. He says, so I know this because I understood this. So even without attaining stream winning, you practice the precepts. If you're happy, you can also say this. So, in other words, you have faith, 15.4. I have faith in the Blessed One thus. The Blessed One is fully self-awakened, well-taught is the Blessed One's teaching, and the Holy One, the holy community keeps to the good way. In other words, here it's not merely listening to a teaching and then accepting it, but also watching, following, practicing it yourself, knowing it for yourself. Section 16, bhikshus whose faith in the Tathagata is certain, well-rooted, established in these ways. These sentences, these words. This bhikshu is called faith with a good cause, rooted in vision, firm. So this is true faith, in other words. Faith with a good cause, that means based on conditions, understanding the nature of impermanence. The teaching is based on reasoned teachings, rooted in vision, meaning you see it for yourself, vision, seeing for yourself. The first part, good cause, means you understand it, it's clear with the mind. Vision, you see it, you understand it. Firm, that means you stand firm in it, you practice it, you live by it, you are an example of it. It is immovable, invincible by any recluse or Brahmin or Deva or Mara or Brahma or anyone in the world. Immovable. No one can shake your faith. No one can make you fall from it. You know, there is a saying that sometimes when you have found the right teaching, you may face a lot of difficulties. It's as if to make you give up that teaching because others will be jealous of you or try to make you not believe. It's as if you'll be tested. This can happen. But even when this happens, you find somehow, although you may feel like giving up, but you know you cannot give it up because it is the right thing. So you stay on, although you are suffering. And then you realize it is well worth suffering. And then the suffering becomes less. And then you're happy. It goes like that. So this is an example of a disciple who follows the Buddha's teaching. 16.2, thus indeed bhikshus is the Dhamma investigation in the Tathagata, and thus too is the Tathagata well investigated in accordance with the Dhamma. The Blessed One said this, satisfied the monks rejoice in the Blessed One's word. So, as I said here, yeah, one problem here is that we're talking about the Buddha here, and the Buddha is not with us today in the physical sense. So we apply this to the teachers that we meet, to whoever is speaking the Dhamma that we meet. And we also apply it to ourselves. We examine ourselves. Do I have all this like that? So you go like that. You go on asking, you go on building up this wisdom for yourself. And that way you will not go astray. That's the idea. You will stay on the path. So this is one of those teachings that's connected with the path. Okay, so I will stop here for the moment, and we have questions and see where we go from there.
Thank you, Brother Piya. I'll pass the session to Sister Aisin now.
Thank you, Sister Wendy. Thank you, Brother Piya.
Right.
At the moment in the chat, there is no question in the chat box.
Mm-hmm.
Any brother and sister would like to ask verbal question? Thank you.
Yeah, you can put up your hands if you like.
Teacher Piya, can you please define enlightenment?
I can't. I'm not enlightened.
But every time we hear the word go for enlightenment,
Okay.
So what is enlightenment?
I will explain the word, okay, but I won't explain enlightenment, okay. You have to find out for yourself. Okay, there are suttas, there are so many books telling you about enlightenment, and the people are well paid for it, you know. So now, firstly, nowadays some of us anyway, do not use the word enlightenment with the reason that it is a term used by those early Western scholars from the Victorian age, Stanford Raffles time, because they were trying to see Buddhism as something that counters Christianity, similar to the Enlightenment period of Western philosophy. So they say, wow, this is a very nice word, enlightenment. They use the word enlightenment to translate Bodhi, okay? But Bodhi, as we know, has nothing to do with enlightenment, because Bodhi comes from the root word Bud, B-U-D-H, You see this root sign, then BUDH in the grammar books. Basically, the root is to understand. To understand. Okay? So Buddha is one who has understood. Understood what? The Four Noble Truths. Okay. So because he has understood the Four Noble Truths, you call him the one who has understood, but doesn't sound very impressive, right? You say, and very also quite a mouthful, right? Our homage to the one who has understood. It sounds a little awkward, right? Whereas you say our homage to awakened one, it sounds a little better. Okay, so when someone understands something, it's like the person has awakened from ignorance, right? And the Buddha gives examples of the chicken hatchlings. He says it's like there is a bunch of eggs, and these chickens are all hatching, you know, and then the first one comes up. The first one is in the egg, so it uses its beak and pokes through the eggshell, and it comes up. Okay, this is the light. Okay, so, in other words, in a sense, it awakens to the bright light, if you like. So it's not a perfect translation, but it is useful, understandable in terms of English. This is not the problem of Pali or Buddhism, it's just a English language problem. So the other group, and I would include myself in that group, we use the word awaken. So the Buddha is the awakened one, Buddha. But then sometimes you find some Buddha. So here again, some has this prefix some. Pali is full of such prefixes. You can translate in different ways. Self, right, it can be self, it can be right. But samma, sambuddha, samma already is right. So obviously, some is better translated as self, self-awakened. Makes better sense. Sambuddha, self-awakened. Samma sambuddha, the rightfully self-awakened one. Doesn't sound very right. So we say fully self-awakened one sounds better. Fully self-awakened one. Okay. So we want idiomatic English. In other words, English that's pleasant to the ear. At the same time, we know we must find out the Pali word. That is the problem of translation. Of course, there are some translators who feel that we can use English and make it as close to Pali as possible. But there is a bit of cost there. It sounds funny. And if you can control your laughter, yeah, I suppose it's good. It will work, right? You say something like the rightly self-enlightened one who has understood. I don't know how you're going to recite that during puja. Quite, you might trip here and there. So it's not idiomatic, all right? So we have to translate in a beautiful way, make beautiful English sounds. Fully self-awakened one sounds good. So Bodhi is awakening, awakening to the Four Noble Truths. Ignorance, and we are still sleeping. So this is how I understand awakening, enlightenment, if you like, all right? The other thing is what is useful to us as unawakened Buddhists is to understand there is the path. Path means you have to travel, you have to work on it, you progress on it, you have to move towards nirvana. We are not even on the path yet. We are still outsiders, okay? We're enjoying ourselves. The tents built outside this beautiful Dharma city, if you like, but we have not entered the city. All right? Maybe we have not granted citizenship yet, you know? So we're waiting, all right? Only when you enter through the gate of stream winning, yes, you are in the city, you are on the path. That path goes to nirvana. So we keep the precepts, we meditate so that we can attain stream winning first. With stream winning, then we are sure not to fall away, to be reborn in lower states. That's going to really slow us down from attaining awakening. So these are the things we need to know about awakening, how to get to it, because you have not got it yet. All right. Then there are other later forms of Buddhism who come a lot of grand words, right? So these are status words. They're not about states of awakening, they're status words. In other words, their teachers grant them, certify that they are awakened. Yeah. I so certify so-and-so has attained what stage, you know? So it's the internal thing. So we wouldn't accept that kind of thing either. So, and even words like Satori and Kensho, they have their own meaning in Japanese culture. So they have no direct connection with Bodhi. Okay, so all this I've written elsewhere in the SD series, you can read up. Let me not go into too much technical details here. So awakening refers to reaching the path. The simplest explanation, reaching the path to awakening. All right, so that's should be our aim as lay practitioners. If possible, in this life itself, we will attain at least stream winning. And it's not difficult as lay people. Just keep 5 precepts. You can still attain stream winning and once returning. Okay, if you still not clear about, you're not clear about the answer, do ask some more questions. Yes.
Thank you, Brother Piya. This question from Brother LCO.
Yes.
This sutta teaches us that even leaders should be examined and allowed to be examined by the followers. Sir Piya, in this contrast to this, does it mean that even parents should be examined and allowed to be examined?
I would say yes. I would say yes. But of course, we have to do it properly and with compassion, wisdom and compassion. It's different when we talk about Buddha, see, because or teacher, because we're going to go to this teacher and listen, you see. Whereas parents, we have lived with them and we are living, like it or not, we have to be with them. And some parents may not be so helpful. No, they're not so nurturing, sadly. So it's a great blessing to have parents who really care for you and raise you to such a way that you become a wonderful person. Then there are those who, despite all this suffering, they grow like lotuses, from the mud. They become really good people because they really know suffering. That's when Buddhism becomes your parents. Buddhism is telling you, you're like a lotus. See all these difficulties with parents like the mud from which you arise, your roots, your past karma. They have ripened now. So you are, sort of like settling your karmic debt now, all right? So these parents, they're not punishing you. They're helping you to clear away your past karma, as it were, okay? Testing you, teaching you. Then you know, say, wow, this is bad. Imagine how other people may suffer. So you learn not to behave like that. So the Dhamma can appear to us in strange ways in that sense. So yes, you can watch your parents, but you can't give them up. I mean, they see your parents. You can go away, yes. You can practice some kind of renunciation. If you can't handle them, I think it is wise to go away, to stay away, to grow up by yourself when you can, and see how you can help them. In that way, you got to be strong, all right? So these are not very easy things to talk about because these are very personal things and they got to be handled, they got to be counseled on a personal basis. There are skills we need to learn about ourselves, about others, and how to help this kind of people. And as you know, when it comes to counseling, it's not easy to help relatives. So you need special skills. And this is where spiritual friendship also is very important. You can't do this alone. So you need positive friends, loving friends, caring friends, wise friends. Those are the spiritual friends. All right, so that's one way I hope my answer that helps you to think more carefully about this. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Brother Piya.
All right.
The next question from Brother J.H. Cole.
Okay.
In line 4, bracket 1, in 2 ways, what are the 2 ways mentioned in the sutta? Are these 2 ways refer to one cognizable by eye, number 2 cognizable by the ear, or anything else?
Yeah, these 2, you're correct. I mean, you have given the answer yourself. Eh? The 2 ways means to the eye, that means to what you see, the way this teacher behaves himself, conducts himself, the things he has, the kind of things around him, right? What you see. There is what you hear, okay? The thing, how he talks, the things that he says, and what other people say about him too. And then from there, you check. You don't stop there, you know, you go on asking, you go on examining. It's an ongoing thing until you yourself attain the state of awakening. That's the meaning here. So don't take people for granted. Don't blindly follow gurus, teachers. In other words, self-reliance. Remember the teaching of self-reliance. Okay. Next question.
Thank you, Brother Piya. The next question from Brother LCO.
Okay.
In today's world of vegetation gaps, a generation gap, parents are being challenged by children, but in the context of Buddhism, do we remain silent and smile, or do we need to educate children to understand life? I have children that even say that the book and words that they read is further than the route that we walk.
What's the last part again?
I mentioned that the children nowadays that even say that the book and words that they read.
Book is it? B-O?
Yeah, book.
Okay.
The books that they read is further more than the route that we walk.
All right. This one is tough. No? Okay, I'm speaking as a parent also. So my advice, especially for people who are going to be parents, the most formative period in your children are the first 7 years. And those are the most important years you need to be with your children. To be present there, play with them, and that way teach them, show them love, care, and so on. You see, as parents, we give human form, a human body to our children. We are that karmic doorway for this person to ripen in human form. That is a great blessing, good karma. The child has a human form, but this baby is only human in body, but not human in mind yet. I notice children, how selfish they can be. They still lack certain qualities, and they need to be taught. That's the humanization phase. So by cuddling the baby, by being present with the baby, by talking with this child, the child grows up with your presence, with your teaching, by your example, by your kindness, by your love, this child grows. Of course, including relatives, brothers, sisters too. This is called the humanization phase. Humanization phase. You are made human. You have a human body, but you don't have human heart, human mind yet, this baby. So that's the phase, the second phase, first to 7 years. If you miss those 7 years, you pay some people to take care of that child, then the child is not yours. The child belongs to whoever takes care of him or her. So be with the child in the first 7 years, the humanization phase. Now, this is the ideal situation. If you can do this, it's wonderful. Many parents I know have done this. And their children grow up happy, independent, very important, independent, right? Now, there are cases where parents themselves are maladjusted, toxic, right? So that is really difficult. There are laws in Singapore where other citizens are allowed to inform the child service to take away such children so that they are raised in a toxic-free environment, that they're properly raised so that they're not harmed by the children, by the parents. I mean. So where the parents can harm the children, there are provisions by the law to keep them safe. So this all you have to decide what to do, how to do it. All right. For yourself, if you are clever enough, you're independent enough, you learn to be independent. When I was in the West, I met many young people. They're called love children, love child. In other words, they're born out of wedlock, and after that, they are abandoned, they're on their own. In fact, whatever it is, in the West, when a person is like 16 or 17, they normally go on their own. So they grow independently that way. So I'm not saying it's good or bad, it's their society. So here is where, because of the situation, it is amazing if a young person, a young child knows what to do by himself, despite the parents. And I would say this kind of people will grow up to be really great people if they follow this path of self-reliance, following the Buddha's teaching, knowing what to do, learning from suffering and not bringing the suffering onto others. And usually such people, they know what it is and they would not transfer the suffering to others. I say usually, but there are cases where there is the heritage of suffering which is carried on, yeah. But I'm happy to know that I've met many people in my life, who, men and women, who have very difficult parents, and they forgive their parents, and they're able to grow like lotuses, as I said, from the mud of these family difficulties. So learn from what Buddhism can teach you, how to grow like a lotus despite the sufferings thrown at you. In other words, you are becoming, you're a diamond in the making with all these pressures and fire. Just one diamond and you're going to become the diamond. So bear yourself for a moment for these few years, in other words. Okay? All right. Okay, let's go on.
Thank you, Dr. Piya. Other LCO add on to his question. He mentioned this happened especially to children that are highly educated, and his son is a doctor and he do not accept life after death theory. Okay. How to educate them on this religion aspect of life?
Well, I have to talk to him personally. So it is very difficult to tell you what to do. There's no way I can tell you, okay, do A, B, C, and okay, this is what's going to happen. He's a very intelligent man. I mean, if he doesn't believe in rebirth, fine. You know, I mean, it's not like we're going to punish him for that or what. We can never know what will happen in time, you see, right? Because there's so much materials out there by intelligent people which talk about rebirth. What he's trying to say is because of his training, he is not able to accept something which he cannot prove for himself. He's not saying that Buddhism is false. He cannot prove it for himself. To be honest with you, I don't think any monk can prove to you, any good monk, good scholar can prove to you that there is rebirth. But my answer is this. My challenge is, can you show me a better system than karma and rebirth to maintain a good society? We all use myths. Politicians use myths to run society. The myth of nationhood, the myth of civilization, and the myth of the good party, the myth of war, good old Putin, and so on, you see. So when we talk about this kind of thing, what keeps us behaving well? God idea? We tried that. But the people who believe in God are the ones who harm others the most. They molest hundreds and thousands of children over centuries because of their power position, helpless children. They have wars and kill millions in Europe, 30 years war. It's because of this religious war that Europe is free today, you know, and in Asia, we are still caught up in the not developed yet. We are following behind. This European history is very slow in catching up. So we have to think of an idea that can help us. God idea is very destructive, very unhelpful. But karma, even if there's an idea, it's definitely better than the God idea, because karma doesn't forgive you. Karma works like a natural law. If you believe in, let's say, gravity, you know, the karma works like that. And if you talk about karma, you also talk about rebirth, right? If plants, something as lowly as plants, simple life as plants, propagate themselves, multiply themselves, they can go on living from seeds. Obviously, a more advanced species like humans can do that too. We don't die with the body, right? Our consciousness somehow can move on in the next life. This is hypothetical, yes, but it is a better myth to use than God idea. And for me, I'm happy with that, right? So it's a choice we must make. So we can't force people if you don't believe in it. Oh yes, one more thing I wanted to say about parents is this. So the best way you can teach your children once they begin to be intelligent, because they're observing you, they're following you, you know, is to be kind and happy. Very important to be happy. You show them that you're happy, you're kind. And then they will wonder, how come you are like that, you know? Then they say, oh, because you're a Buddhist. Because you're a Buddhist, right? So when they can see that you have done something to inspire them. You know, once I went for some social work gathering. It is a government thing, but it's run by a church, you see. So just because we are doing social work, they think that we are also Christians. See? And that's why I make a very clear effort. I say, and loudly so people can hear, we are Buddhists. You know, I'm so happy I could say that in this crowd of Christians. Okay, because the situation is right. I have to tell them we Buddhists also do social work, right? So, and I also hear on the other way where people are very compassionate, you know. They don't know me. They look at me, they say, you must be Buddhist. I said, oh, you're very wise. I said, so yes, Buddhists should, you know, work in this kind of work. We show compassion, you know. So what I'm saying is, by your example, show them you're happy, you're peaceful, you believe what you like, what is what I believe, and you can see me, I'm happy, right? Don't get upset with them, but they have their own minds, they are independent, they have grown up. So be happy, accept them, and then grow. Of course, at the right time, share your difficulties with them. So it's a kind of balanced parenthood. Oh, there's so much to talk about parenthood. So let me stop there. And I think I've shared enough. No? All right, let's go on.
Thank you, Brother Piya. The next question from Brother J.H. Kaur. The 6 criteria or steps given depend very much on the knowledge and life experiences of the investigator. Being layperson, there are much things within oneself. Thus, the interpretation of each item can vary from one to another. For example, a Buddhist will interpret like defiled, impure, purified states or terms differently from a non-Buddhist.
Oh, very true.
Brother Piya, please comment. Thank you.
All right. First, my first remark is that this is for Buddhists. So we don't bring in other religions. They're free to, you know, decide on their own, but we don't want to interfere with them. This one is about Buddhists, okay? And yes, it's not easy for us to decide all these things, especially when our own wisdom is not well developed, right? So we can only guess. But I think as long as we are informed, a person is informed. A person may not be deeply educated, may not be very clever, but he's informed. these are the things you should watch out for. So after a while, they can sense, we say, they can sense something is wrong here, this is not the right thing, all right? So we need some level of understanding, some level of wisdom. Yes, I would say that. Having said that, unfortunately, people are easily caught by the guru complex, by charisma, because of, in psychology, we say transference. What we lack in the past, for example, love from parents, we lack that, we want that, so we keep, whole life, we keep looking for it. And we see this power, this parental power and love in the guru, in this powerful celebrity monk. And then we transfer this feeling of love of a child to a parent that way. And then this guru is very happy, counter transfer. So you have this amazing dependence situation, interdependent. Okay, so you have this amazing false relationship, which actually benefits the teacher more. I have friends who have suffered most of their life this way. Now they are like my age, older than me, you know, and they managed to survive all this Rajneesh group and Osho group, all these terrible gurus, and those, be careful of those bearded Indian gurus, keep away from them. Okay, they're even talking in Harvard nowadays, you know, because in the West no one can talk, see, but we know these gurus, they claim to know what Buddhism is, but you listen carefully, the Buddhism they talk is very shallow, and it's all wrong things about the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. They can talk about other things, but when they talk about Buddhism, it's not fair to us. We don't want that, all right? So it's in a way, it's a warning against getting caught up with this guru web. And then you lose your body and mind to this guru, then you're in real serious trouble. So learn to question the teacher. If the teacher gets angry with you, that means time to go away. But it's different if the teacher stresses some teaching. He may appear to be angry, but he's not angry, he's just stressing a point. In the Western university, you find there's a lot of this kind of expression of learning. Eh? So of course in Asia, we feel that if you raise a voice, oh, it's anger, we're easily terrified. We should not be like that either. In fact, there is also a saying in the teachings, in the suttas, if you find a good teacher, you know this teacher is good, even if the teacher chases you away, you should stay on. You know, it is found in the suttas. All right. Okay, having said that, let's go on to the next question.
Thank you, Brother Piya. The moment there's no more question.
Okay.
Yeah, Sister Ratna announced that the next class is on 28th May. Study about the conversion of Yasa and the Great Commission.
Yes, the Great Commission. The
ST 11.2.
Yeah, that'll be about the sending of the first missions of 60 monks. Just a bit of Buddhist history, and also how Yasa's life story is very close to the Buddha. Right, so this will be the next lesson. Meantime, I think Ratna can take the photograph for us, right? Family photo.
Okay.
Okay.
Are we ready?
Right. Yeah, we are ready.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, smart. Correct. Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay. Yes. We have 5 more minutes. Any more questions?
Teacher Piya,
Yes.
Yoniso Manasikara.
Okay.
Can you just tell us a bit more?
Yeah. It means kind of right mindfulness, something to do with right mindfulness, right consideration. Okay. Manasikara. Okay. Manasa. Mana means mind in this case. Mana, short mana, not mana. Okay. Mana means the mind. Sikara, kara means acting, Okay, manasikara means minding. Okay, using your mind in some useful way. So paying attention. The idiomatic English is paying attention, attending. Yoniso. Yoni is a very strange word. Okay, here is the Indian idiom. No? Yoni is the woman's womb where babies come from. So it means the source of life. Going back to the source. Yoniso, so makes it an adverb. Okay, yoniso, going back to the womb, going back to the nature of things. So yoniso manasikara means to examine, to look at the situation down to its roots, down to the roots, yoniso, down to the roots, to see in a natural way. Okay, so if you see things yoniso manasikara in the natural way, you see it as true reality, meaning you see firstly as it is impermanent. What is impermanent is unsatisfactory. What is impermanent and unsatisfactory has no abiding essence. You can't identify with it, you can't own it, you can't have it. So that is very briefly yoniso manasikara. See things as true reality. Okay? Okay, couple more minutes.
Thank you.
Oh yes, just to tell you, we started our senior yoga in the beautiful Jurong Lake Park. So the class is still open. If you just check out in the Telegram, there is a special, what do you call it, platform there for senior yoga. Now we call it Buddha Nama Yoga. Okay, it's something that helps to stretch your muscles and bones so that when age comes, all these bones will not ache and pains will not be there. It healed me. It healed my spondylosis, my neck pain and shoulder pain and so on. And so I do it like 2-3 times a week, or 3-4 times a week rather. You should do it regularly enough. It's only about, at the most, an hour a session. And you can make it as long as short as you like.
Thank you, Brother P.
Yeah.
There's the last question from Brother Ryan Gore.
Sure.
To follow up to the investigation is just as important and worth of a class. After we are finished with the investigation, what and how do we do with the teacher whom we might have difficulty with?
The teacher you have difficulty with, you have two choices. One is to tell him, if you know him well enough, there are monks I know that I can talk to and they are willing to listen to me. I mean, at my age and from my experience with monkhood, I get lots of young monks coming to me, chatting with me privately over their own issues, So I do have exchanges with some of these monks. But it's not easy if you don't have that ability to talk to them or advise them. Then the best thing is to keep away, to be safe, right? Because we can be blinded by the group. We can be intoxicated by the group, the crowd. The crowd can tell us, how can the crowd be wrong? You should join us, right? So that's a very dangerous attitude. I mean, look at the war that's going on now. If an old man is sending young people to be killed because of his ideas and hatred. So it's not between two countries, it's one man's hatred for a certain country. So it's very sad. You find, and he uses this crowd behind him to destroy. So crowds can destroy, right? So that's why the safe way is to get away from it while you can, before the crowd destroys us, right? Even religious crowds, they can destroy you silently, nefariously, in a way that you don't notice, but it works sometimes the whole life. For example, this person who's left this guru group, he says many of them never survive. I mean, they continue to live, but they are but a shadow of themselves. They are not really happy functional people anymore because they have been destroyed by the guru. So these are very serious matters. Go away early, stay safe. All right. So that's the advice on the dark side. All right. Looks like time's up unless there's last minute question. No more questions, huh?
Thank you, Brother Piya. No more question already.
All right, that's good. Okay, so as part of our routine, it's a time to quietly spend a quiet moment to reflect the time we spent together, keeping the precepts, doing some meditation, practicing the Dharma. These are all very good karma, very good actions we are doing. Remember all this, and the power of all this goodness that we ourselves have done. May we be well, may we be happy, at peace with ourselves. May we grow in wisdom through the Dhamma. This is a time to send our thoughts, kind thoughts to our loved ones, our teachers and friends, wherever they may be. Wish them well and happy. And I wish you all well and happy, that you may continue to grow in peace and wisdom to benefit yourself and others. And finally, we show our gratitude to our teacher, to the teaching, and the saints who have kept the teachings going. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi. Bow down. Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami. Bow down. Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. Bow down. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.